There is a specific kind of silence that happens when you finally realize that the people who were supposed to protect you are actually the ones holding the knife. I spent 4 exhausting years putting myself through college in a completely different state, working 40 hours a week at a logistics firm, while keeping my grades high enough to graduate with honors. When the weekend of my commencement finally arrived, I thought my family would show a small shred of pride, but deep down I already knew better. Before we jump into the rest of this story, please drop a comment down below letting me know where you are watching from today, what the weather is like in your city, and smash that subscribe button to support the channel. The party took place on the concrete back porch of my family home on a warm weekend afternoon, and the setup made their true feelings obvious within seconds. While my older sister had an entire table overflowing with gift boxes and printed photographs praising her recent job promotion, my graduation cake had been pushed onto a dusty wooden ledge right next to overflowing trash bags and empty soda cans. The sheet cake had light blue frosting spelling out my name, but nobody was paying any attention to it until my 10-year-old nephew raced across the lawn and deliberately shoved his entire hand into the middle of the display. The ceramic plate crashed against the hard concrete floor, shattering into dozens of sharp fragments while thick blue frosting splattered all over my clean white shoes. Instead of scolding the boy or asking if anyone was hurt, my mother leaned back in her lawn chair and started howling with laughter like it was the funniest event she had ever witnessed in her life. The boy looked directly into my eyes, smirked, and told me to get on my hands and knees to eat the rest of the mess right off the filthy ground. My sister joined in on the laughter, mocking me for standing completely frozen with the silver serving knife still clutched in my right hand. Hearing my own family treat my hard work like a worthless punchline broke the final string of loyalty I had been holding on to for years. I slowly set the knife back on the table, wiped my hands on my apron, and walked straight out to my car without saying a single word to anyone standing on that porch. Not a single person tried to follow me or ask why I was leaving early, and their loud taunting voices slowly faded away as I pulled into the main street. I spent the next 6 hours driving along the dark highway back toward my apartment, staring at the yellow lines on the pavement while gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned ghostly white. The sound of my mother's booming laughter kept repeating inside my head, reminding me of every single sacrifice I had made for them over the years. I grew up in the quiet farmland of Idaho, but 3 years ago I packed my bags and moved straight to Oregon to secure my degree while managing a full-time corporate position. My family always considered me the stable child who never required emotional support, guidance, or financial assistance, which meant my needs were constantly pushed aside. My sister Vanessa was the absolute center of my mother's world, constantly receiving expensive brand new clothing, personal checks, and endless praise for doing the bare minimum. Whenever Vanessa ran into major financial trouble or failed to pay her personal bills on time, my mother would call me crying and guilt me into transferring thousands of dollars to clear her debts. I spent years draining my personal savings account just to buy their affection, foolishly hoping that one day my family would look at me with the exact same pride they gave to my sister. By the time I finally reached my apartment that night, rain was pounding heavily against the glass windows while I tossed my keys on the kitchen counter. My phone screen suddenly lit up with a text message from my mother, stating that the entire family had officially decided to cut off all communication with me forever because of my selfish attitude. Seconds later, my sister sent a follow-up notification with a little heart symbol, letting me know that she was completely on board with cutting me out of their lives completely. Staring at those cold words on the glowing screen did not bring a single tear to my eyes, because the deep sorrow I felt earlier had completely turned into pure, absolute clarity. I immediately sat down at my desk, opened my personal financial files, and pulled up 2 massive monthly accounts that I had been paying diligently for the past 36 months. Years ago, when my parents bought their current suburban house and my sister wanted a brand new luxury vehicle, neither of them possessed the credit score needed to get approved for the loans. My mother spent weeks begging me on the phone to step in as the primary account holder, swearing on her life that they would manage the payments themselves once they got settled. Instead of keeping their promise, they completely dumped the financial burden onto my shoulders, forcing me to pay over $1,200 every single month just to protect my own credit profile. I opened my online banking portal, submitted official requests to permanently remove my liability from both accounts, and sent verified documentation directly to the primary financial institutions. By 9 o'clock the following morning, My phone was ringing continuously with frantic missed calls and extremely aggressive text messages from every single relative in my family. My mother was absolutely hysterical in her voice notes, screaming that the bank was demanding immediate payment in full and accusing me of committing the ultimate betrayal against the people who raised me. Vanessa was practically sobbing into her microphone, warning me that her luxury vehicle was about to be towed away because her account had been flagged for immediate repossession. Reading through their frantic messages made me realize that not a single word was spent apologizing for their cruel behavior, proving once and for all that they only valued my existence for my bank account. I put on a crisp blazer, grabbed my folder of financial documents, and drove straight down to the corporate bank office to meet with a senior lending supervisor named Richard. I handed Richard my formal lease history, payment receipts, and saved text threads proving that I held zero physical ownership of the suburban property or the luxury automobile. Richard carefully examined the evidence, shook his head in complete disbelief at the emotional manipulation, and stamped the paperwork that officially cleared my name from every single loan contract. Walking out of that bank lobby felt like a massive weight had been lifted off my chest, breathing fresh air into my lungs for the first time in years. Later that evening, my sister sent one final text message demanding to know how I could ruin their financial lives over what she called a simple household prank. I typed back a short message explaining that I simply stopped paying the bills for people who laughed when my graduation cake hit the ground, then blocked her number completely. 3 days later, extremely loud banging echoed off my front door as my mother and sister stood out in the public hallway screaming for me to unlock the entrance immediately. Rather than stepping outside to engage in an embarrassing screaming match, I calmly opened my phone and reported 2 hostile trespassers directly to the local police department dispatcher. Law enforcement officers arrived at the building within 10 minutes and sternly informed my mother that she had no legal right to stalk or harass an adult resident on private property. My mother started screaming at the officers that blood relatives are not allowed to treat each other like enemies, but the deputies ignored her dramatic performance and escorted them off the premises. The very next day, my mother posted malicious lies across social media claiming that I had stolen family funds, but I refused to give her desperate smear campaign any of my time or energy. Within a week, the financial institutions finalized every piece of paperwork, rendering her ridiculous public statements completely harmless and totally irrelevant to my actual life. A full year has passed since that stormy night, and my daily existence has transformed into something peaceful, prosperous, and truly beautiful. I received a significant executive promotion at my technology firm, purchased my very first home, and built a wonderful circle of genuine friends who respect and value my presence. My sister recently tried to send a lengthy written apology through a mutual contact, but I left the letter unopened because I have zero interest in looking backward. True personal freedom comes from recognizing your own worth and having the courage to walk away from anyone who treats your kindness like weakness. If you found this story empowering, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the video on your end screen right now to watch another incredible story.